Welcome to Inside Issaquah, our new quarterly magazine show where we show you the ins and outs of your community. My name is Autumn Monahan, the City of Issaquah's Communications Coordinator. Join us today to learn more about a true Issaquah icon, take a walk along an edible landscape, and find out how volunteers are bringing these tracks back to life, along with much more. Please join us. When you think of Issaquah, many things come to mind. Salmon days, the fish hatchery, paragliders off of Poo Poo Point, and of course, Boehms chocolates. We got a behind-the-scenes tour of this amazing Issaquah icon and the man behind all of its sweet history.
Julius was the son of an Austrian father and Swiss mother. He was born in 1897 in Vienna, Austria.
When he was 4 years old, his mother passed away, and so Julius and his little brother went to live with his grandparents in Switzerland.
The living quarters were upstairs of the grandparents' chalet. Downstairs was devoted to his grandfather, a pastry chef, who lovingly handcrafted pastries and candies. So while in Switzerland, Julius couldn't help but develop his passion at an early age for food and his passion for the Swiss Alps in all of its beauty and grandeur. At age 12, he relocated back to Austria to live with his father. His father remarried a concert pianist.
He had a very, I would say, luxurious life, a very life of privilege. His father was a piano manufacturer and his stepmother was a concert pianist. Music was a big part of their life. Toscanini and Puccini were guests in their home.
Julius had a passion for life and the outdoors. He was a 1924 Olympic athlete and ran the last leg of the 4x400 relay at the Paris Games.
He was competitive in 14 different sports. And then in 1936 he was the last torch runner from Austria, then to the Czechoslovakian Republic, into Germany. 1936 was the Olympic in Germany, where Jesse Owens really showed Hitler, you know, the things are not always going well for German people, that they need to be a little bit more humble. And Julius was very proud to be a member of a sports team and kind of meet all these artists.
Julius's life changed dramatically when Hitler invaded Austria. In 1939, Julius fled Nazi tyranny by cross-country skiing through the beautiful but treacherous Alps to freedom in Switzerland.
When Germany invaded Austria, it became clear that he was not going to stay in his homeland. So he made the decision to flee his country, and so he arranged to cross-country ski out of Austria into Switzerland, and then made arrangements to go to Spain. And then once he arrived in Spain, then he made arrangements to come to the United States.
He kind of escaped Europe, like many people have done. Actually, one of the famous people are this Trapp family, but this kind of scenario happened actually many times. They just left over the Alps into neutral Switzerland and left from there for America or other countries.
Julius immigrated to the Pacific Northwest in 1941. In 1943, with friend George Tedlock, the first candy kitchen was opened in the Ravenna district of Seattle. Boehms Candies in 1956 relocated to the foothills of the awesome Cascade Mountain Range in Issaquah. The foothills' natural beauty reminded Julius of his homeland. The Candy Kitchen became known as the Edelweiss Chalet, named after the symbolic Swiss flower. It was the first alpine chalet in the Northwest built by a great craftsman, Walter Schaefer, who hailed from Appenzell, Switzerland. It was Schaefer that gave the Edelweiss Chalet its distinctive appearance. Boehms Candies' traditional handcrafted methods and techniques have changed little over its 65-year history. Hand dipping is a large component that sets Boehms Candies apart from others. Boehms Candies is proud to maintain the hand dip tradition. There are an estimated 200 hand dippers remaining in the United States today. It is a slowly dying art. Among the 140 different confections in the Boehms collection, dippers create the 11 flavors of truffles, the double dip cherries, and the Mozart Kugels. You will notice that the candy dippers are not wearing gloves because the uncovered hand works as the perfect thermometer, keeping the chocolate at an ideal consistency, keeping the chocolate pliable, especially for the intricate signature design the dipper will scroll. Julius Boehm and his Edelweiss Chalet have made a lasting impression on the city of Issaquah. He did more for his community than just making great confections. Over the years, Julius shared with hundreds his love for swimming and skiing. He was very grateful for the community which he called home after fleeing Europe.
Julius was a very unique person from my point of view in terms of someone who just really loved life and embraced it in so many ways, lived his life to the fullest, and I personally consider it a tremendous opportunity to have known someone like him.
His love for sport and music and art carried all the way through, and was a great radiation to all the people he met. They are still coming in the shop, people who said, "Oh, Julius taught me swimming, and once I knew how to swim in Lake Sammamish, 20 minutes, he would give me a few chocolates as a reward for this." So I guess chocolate gets you a long way in little bribery. He had this a great charisma as a personality, and he was a great humanitarian, and I think many people think very kindly of Julius and remember him well.
The city of Issaquah proclaimed August 15, 1978, Julius Boehm Day, in recognition for all of his public service and generous donations. Soon after, the King County Parks and Recreation named the Issaquah District Swimming Pool as the Julius Boehm Pool. As of today, Boehms Candies has expanded to 8 quality retail stores in addition to retail food chains such as Safeway and Quality Food Centers. The public is welcome to visit the place that Julius called home. The chalet is surrounded by peaceful grassy areas adorned by flowers and sculptures.
He cared very much about how the business looked on the outside before you ever entered into it. Took great pride in the grounds here and the artistry here, and created a very unique oasis for people to come and enjoy. And it didn't matter to him whether they ever came into the store or not. If they came here and had a special time of sitting on a bench, enjoying being out here in the surrounding area and the beauty that he liked to surround himself with, he was happy.
Situated in the Cascade foothills, you can take a tour of the Northwest's first authentic alpine chalet. Take a behind-the-scenes look at the candy-making process and tour Julius's home, which is situated above the candy store. You will be able to view the chalet's authentic Swiss architecture as well as view his collection from world travels. Nestled next to the chalet is the High Alpine Chapel, a 12th century replica found in St. Moritz, Switzerland. The replica was built as a tribute to all fallen mountain climbers. The history and heritage set forth by Mr. Boehm runs true to this day. Come stop by the Edelweiss Chalet and take in the old world charm and taste some of the finest chocolate confections ever produced.
If chocolate isn't your favorite snack, the city's own Matt Meckler may have something else that will interest you on this edition of Outdoor Issaquah.
Hi, I'm Matt Meckler, Open Space Steward for the City of Issaquah. And on this edition of Outdoor Issaquah, we'll be exploring the Gilman Boulevard Edible Landscape Tour. In 1985, when the City Council was deciding how Issaquah's new commercial area should be landscaped, there was some controversy about planting garden-like strips along the sidewalks. Trees and shrubs were one thing, but apple and walnut trees from which the public could pilfer were quite another. But the edible option won, and today Gilman Boulevard is a veritable smorgasbord with more than 25 varieties of edible plants. A good place to start the edible landscape tour is at the Issaquah Visitor Information Center, located at 155 Northwest Gilman Boulevard, and pick up an edible landscape tour brochure. Following this self-guided tour, you'll find a map that shows the fruits, nuts, and berries located along the boulevard. It takes about an hour to walk up one side of Gilman Boulevard and back along the other, but you don't have to do the whole tour at once. You can walk half the tour and take the bus back, or you can spend a leisurely afternoon by stopping for lunch at one of the many picnic tables and benches along the way. As you will see, Gilman Boulevard is also graced with several non-edible trees. Stanley oaks adorn the sidewalk in front of the post office, and the boulevard's theme tree is red maple, which is planted extensively along the west end, in front of the visitor center and on all the median strips. Be sure to take the walking tour in autumn when the red maples turn the entire boulevard a brilliant, breathtaking red. There's a few things you should know before starting the tour. Gilman is a busy boulevard. Watch for oncoming traffic and vehicles turning in front of you. Use crosswalks and traffic signals to cross from one side of Gilman Boulevard to another. Feel free to sample the edible fruit along the tour, but please limit what you take so those who follow can also sample. And please don't climb the trees. Choose fruit within easy reach and take care not to break branches. For more information on this tour or other hikes around the City of Issaquah, please visit the City of Issaquah website.
You may have noticed some recent activity here at the train depot. To tell us more is Barb Justice of the Issaquah Valley Trolley, which is a project of Issaquah History Museums. So first off, where did this trolley come from?
Well, thank you. This trolley came originally from Lisbon, Portugal, and it went to Aspen, Colorado in about 1975, and it remained there until they decided they couldn't get their project going, and they allowed us to come and get it. So we've had it since about 2003.
Oh, wow. So what's happened between 2003 and today?
Well, in the meantime, we needed money, so we got some just volunteer donations, some nice big ones, some from corporations and some from individuals, and then we started writing grants. And so it happened that the Federal Transit enhancement grants were available to projects like this, and so we applied for those, and then we got some more of those kind of grants, and then we got local hotel motel tax and things that went through the PSRC.
So I know that the trolley just got back to town. Where was it for the past few months?
Well, in March, it left for the reconstruction people in Ida Grove, Iowa. It's called the Gomeco Trolley Company, and it's a division of their paving machine building company. They're a huge company in a tiny town of 2,600 people.
Wow.
Yes.
And so what kind of work did they do to kind of rehab the trolley?
Oh my. The kind of work that they did was take it totally apart like a Lego set, and took all of the pieces off. They left some of the body together, but they took all of the pieces off and replaced all of the rotted wooden frame that was under it. This trolley was built in 1925, so it had to have a brand new truck under it with all new equipment, and then because we have federal money, we had to meet all the current standards, which means all of the ADA. We have a wheelchair ramp that is exactly like Amtrak uses, and so it's ADA compatible. Mm-hmm. And then they put in all new electrical and air components until everything has been changed. Some of it is rebuilt, and some is brand new.
So what is the mission of having a trolley here in town, and kind of what do you hope to do and educate people about with the trolley?
Well, we have a lot of different missions. One is that we wanted to demonstrate to the communities that small rail transportation works in small towns.
So we start here at the depot, which is right behind City Hall here on Sunset. And then how far can you take it?
Right now we can only take it as far as the East Fork of the Issaquah Creek by Dairy Gold, because we saved money back in case we had cost overruns and we needed to have a car running on the tracks. It didn't say how far, in order to fulfill our grant obligation. And so as soon as all the bills come in, we hope we have enough money that we can strengthen the bridge. It's in really good shape, except that there are some rotted beams that really aren't so much structural, but they could be. And so it needs to be done so that it passes inspection, so we can run it for the next 20, 30, 50 years.
So this is kind of phase one between the depot and Dairy Gold.
Yes.
And then phase two, would that go all the way to Gilman Village?
Yes.
Oh, great.
And then we're hoping at that time that we can have a bus stop, a trolley stop that is ADA compatible, that will be in coordination with the chamber, because the chamber office is right there, and then people could get off and go to Gilman Village and shop, and then come back and get on the trolley, because the trolley will run every half hour, starting at 11 in the morning and run till 3. That's our plan now. We may run longer. We may run more than just Saturdays and Sundays and holidays.
So you're hoping to get some volunteers together who can actually drive it, and then what else do you need help with?
Well, we need help with being conductor, and that is the person that is on the trolley to be able to tell you that the back is free and all of the people are on, the wheelchair ramp is out, so that we can leave. We also need people to take the donations and give out the tickets.
So along with the adults, I'm sure that you get quite a reaction from kids who come and want to ride the trolley. Have you already seen some kids that have run by?
We do. These kids come by and they look and they ask their moms, and mom says, no, it's not running yet. And so if they come by the trolley barn and I am there, then I will open the door and let mom and the little guy in, because we love children so much that we just can't make them wait until the 14th of October, which will be our public opening. And it is the day after the 40th anniversary of the birth of the Issaquah Historical Society, which name now is the Issaquah History Museums, because that better describes our mission.
So you said that the big unveiling for our community will be October 14th.
And that's a Sunday.
And then after that, you'll be running on weekends, right?
We'll be running on Saturday and Sundays from 11 till 3 every half hour. So we'll run 11, 11:30, 12. And our last run will be at 3, and then we put it away.
And then this will be over the fall, correct?
And it'll be till the weather gets too miserable to want to ride it. It does not have heating. By that time, it isn't fun, and people aren't out as much. Then we will have some Santa runs, maybe a couple for photo ops.
Well, thank you, Barb, for joining us today to give us some history about Issaquah Trolley and explain why it's running again here in town.
Well, thank you. I've been delighted to do it.
Another exciting project that's happening here in town is on Issaquah Creek, which you'll see in this next piece.
The structure you see behind me is the Hatchery diversion dam, a fish ladder, and an intake that supplies water to the Issaquah Salmon Hatchery. It's one of 2 sources of water we have for the facility. And the structure's been in place since the hatchery was built back in the 1930s. Primary function here is to provide water to the hatchery. The structure is quite old and it has many flaws associated with it. One of those flaws is the fact that the structure was undermined, and so there's been some repairs to it since then to address that problem. Those repairs, however, have created some other significant problems for us. You can probably see an apron that sits in front of the dam itself, and that presents a problem for adult fish that return to the creek and being stranded and also less capable of migrating the ladder associated with the structure to make access to the upper watershed. The Department of Fish and Wildlife, in conjunction with the City of Issaquah and other partners, have been very interested in trying to address this situation for a long period of time. And we've been working in different formats since the early 1990s to try and address the problems associated with the structure so that we can come up with a solution that still provides us this reliable source of water to the hatchery and at the same time provide access and migration opportunities for the fish returning to the system.
Well, as it turns out, Issaquah Creek is just a wonderful stream. It's very productive, and it's somewhat unique in that it runs through a urban area, and for that reason it's subject to different pressures, the things that go along with residential and commercial development. But we're also fortunate that the local community is very supportive of efforts to conserve the environmental values of this stream. And one of those values is a very healthy fish run to the stream, both historically and currently. Unfortunately, the fish that return to the stream now are primarily hatchery fish. It's only unfortunate in that this stream used to have a sizable natural run, and we believe that run can be restored, and that's the primary purpose of this project.
Fixing the fish passage problem here is a high priority because of the fact that it blocks most of the migration of salmon to the upper watershed. The new design is addressing that by replacing the dam with a series of boulder weirs that have small drops that they can easily pass through. The water supply intake itself would be of a design that also doesn't block fish passage because there'll be free flowing water past the intake where the water is drawn off, and therefore not an obstruction of all the fish. The city became aware of this project in the mid-2000s is when the regional agencies developed what's called the Chinook Salmon Conservation Plan for the local watershed, the Cedar Lake Sammamish Lake Washington watershed. In that study, this dam was identified as a significant barrier to fish passage. And at that time, the Corps of Engineers was involved in a study to replace the dam with another concrete structure with a larger fish ladder. That study ended around 2005, mainly due to lack of federal funds to continue with the final design and construction. And so at that time, the city, with the State Fish and Wildlife Department, applied for a grant, partnered together and applied for a grant to restart the study and actually go back to the beginning and look at alternatives to replacing the dam with another dam. And so during that process, starting about 2008, starting with a feasibility study, we concluded and came up with a preferred alternative of replacing the dam with the boulder weirs and a different type of intake for the water supply. You know, how we came up with this design of the boulder weirs and the new intake came through a fairly rigorous analysis of a number of alternatives of replacing the dam with another dam, looking at another bypass fish ladder type of arrangement where the fish can get around the dam without having to replace it. But in the end, because the dam is in such bad shape, it had to be removed and replaced with something. So the boulder weir concept is fairly common for fish passage because it mimics natural conditions fairly closely as far as a natural step that a fish can easily get up through because they're fairly low drops that they could easily jump. And it also is compatible with the environment because in the end, although it's made out of a lot of rock, it pretty much blends into the environment as the stream heals itself and vegetation along the edges grows up.
Up to this point, the fish returning to the hatchery have been fish that were spawned and reared at the hatchery and released. They came back a couple of years later, and that cycle repeats itself. We've determined that if you do that over a long enough period, the fish become domesticated. That is to say, they lose some of their wild traits and are less successful once they're released into the wild. And that translates into lower survival lower reproduction success, and so it's a process that we'd like to avoid. The best way to avoid it is to make sure you use natural fish, that is fish that were spawned, or progeny of naturally spawning fish. You integrate them into the hatchery production. One of the advantages of opening up Issaquah Creek is we're going to create a pool of naturally produced fish that can be infused into the hatchery strain and used to bring up their genetic profile. So we have to find that optimal balance between hatchery production and natural production. But the natural fish will definitely contribute to the hatchery broodstock, and vice versa. The hatchery fish will contribute to the natural. But overall, production will go up, and the fish will adapt to the system and start to take off on their own.
Well, that's it for this edition of Inside Issaquah. Stay tuned to ICTV Channel 21 for more city programs, or check us out online at www.issaquahwa.gov. See you next time.